Hello, I'm Bonnie Orbay. Welcome to the To the Contrary Film Festival, launched to celebrate 25 seasons on PBS. Our program is a platform for the voices of the underserved, women, families, and diverse communities. And our film festival brings you the best work by members of these groups in 5 categories. They are current events about advancing the rights of women, girls, and diverse communities in the U.S., internationally, the history of the U.S. women's movement, telling women's stories, and student entry. This week's winner is A Queen's Discovery. It's about a 16-year-old girl, Nzinga Anasa Braswell, and her first trip to Ghana. She compares what she learned growing up as a young African American and what she discovered in Africa.
It's a very amazing and eye-opening place. I mean, it's not anything like anybody would expect it to be. Especially what you see on TV and stuff like that, it's nothing like that. It's a very different place, and you really can't experience Africa unless you come here. So I think that everybody should make this trip over here.
My name is Kenneth Braswell, and I'm the Executive Director of Fathers Incorporated. And Nzinga is my beautiful daughter. And she has been the kind of daughter that I guess you could call her a man's daughter. And so meaning that whenever you're ready to kind of roll up your sleeve, she's ready to roll up her sleeve as well.
What I saw that was different from how it was at home is everything. Like, the houses are not the same, the people are not the same. I mean, usually a lot of times you see like homeless people like laying on the ground and stuff like that. I probably seen about 3 people laying on the ground. The rest of them were up working, doing what they had to do to make money and eat and survive. And that's very different from how things are at home. And schools, everything is different because this is a different place. The schools, the buildings, the people, everything. But I mean, that's just how it is.
Change the world to a powerful place. I will go to America. I will go there to study. I will change the world.
Their education is different than ours, and most of the kids are, most of the kids aren't in the grade that they would be if they were in the United States because they have to pay to go to school. But they are way more. They love school way more than people in the United States do. They want to go to school and they want to learn and they want to get their education. And I feel like people in the United States take education for granted because it's just given to us and we're forced to go there. But they have to pay and they have to go. They go because they want to go and they want to make a difference. And I feel like we take for granted our education a lot when we get it for free.
They don't talk about slavery, and so we believe that we as in Black Americans believe that Africans understand the conditions that we face coming to America, and they believe that we are taught in America about what we left as Africans when neither of those take place. So we don't know who they are and they don't know who we are.
There's a big difference from Africans here and Africans back home because it's 2 different places. They have 2 different ways of life. They have 2 different, they have different goals too. So I mean, there's definitely a difference between the two people, but it doesn't change my perspective. I mean, I can say that they do way more over here to make money than people do back home, but that's about it. It doesn't really change my perspective on Black people. I mean, there's not much similarity because it's two different conditions. I feel like in America, people feel like they have it. So like people think they don't have it that well, but we really do. Like we have a lot more stuff than they do over here, but they're still making it work for them because they don't really know. I mean, I'm not sure if they do know, but they don't really know how we have it over. I mean, they do know, but they don't. And they haven't experienced how we have it over there, so it's like two different things. I don't think there's really any, not from African Americans and Africans from Africa, not a really big similarity. The living conditions, they kind of made me think about how good I have it sometimes, and how their houses, I mean I didn't actually go into one of their houses, but I was told that they have like one bedroom and a bathroom and they all sleep, and like there's different, some people's houses are more clean than others, and you can tell, even though they all live in the same structured house, you can tell which houses have more money and which ones don't. And I just couldn't imagine living in a house like that. But I mean, you can't really tell by the people that they're really depressed about living where they live. Well, maybe they are, but you can't tell by just coming here and talking to them and seeing them. They don't seem like they're dying in their houses, and they don't seem like they're ungrateful for having a house.
What about the traffic? What do you see different about the traffic?
I think I saw a stop sign once or twice. I saw the yield sign that said give way. It didn't even say yield, but I knew it was a yield sign. And I probably saw like 3 signs that had like a speed limit on it. But like they don't really have any traffic laws. And I realized when we went to the village and we had that cab driver that you do have to have a license to drive a car, and I thought you didn't at first. And it's just a really different atmosphere because them drivers are crazy. Well, the food is very, very, very spicy. And it's spicy, but it's healthier for you because all their food is fresh. Like all their chicken and their fish and everything is fresh out of the water or somewhere. And back in the United States, all of our stuff has preservatives and it's canned and in bags and everything. And it's just not good for us, but we're just used to it. So when we come over here and we have all this stuff, it's just a very different change, but it's still good food. I think not one of the craziest things that was said to me, they were just talking about the whole Ebola thing, and that be careful when you touch the kids because you don't want to get a disease, and don't drink the water or don't eat their food because you could get a disease. And I'm sitting there like, I don't really think it's that serious. Like I never, ever since Ebola came out, I never thought it was that serious because they always had it under control. So like, why now when I'm going to Africa, it's like, oh, Ebola, but like, it was never a big topic before, but now all of a sudden it's like this big thing, and I just didn't understand that. I mean, I was definitely hoping to see way more wild animals than I did, but we did see a lot of chickens and goats, and just yesterday we saw some pigs too. And I just thought it was so crazy how there was just chickens just wobbling around and no one was doing anything about it. Like when we were sitting in the classroom, chickens just walk right through the class and no one would look but me. Like I'm just sitting there all like, is there seriously a chicken inside the classroom? But no one else was doing anything. So I mean, I know it's normal over here, but I just thought that was crazy that there was actual chickens and goats. But I definitely would like to see some lions and monkeys and stuff too. But I know you have to go to a safari for that. What is that? It's like camouflage wasps. I'm gonna need that to get away from here. That is gross. Ugh. No, look at towards me. Oh my gosh. No.
Okay. All right. So when you were
It was definitely a drastic change from the amount of buildings and the houses started changing and looking different. The people started changing and looking different. You could definitely tell that you were going into a place where there was less money and there was less development going on. It was definitely mind-opening because when I first came here, I thought it was everything was like the city. I didn't even think there was like, I mean, I knew there was villages, but I didn't think it was like how it was, especially like the houses and the buildings like that. Like I probably only saw buildings over by the village that were like 4 stories high, and that's about as high as they got. Like they didn't really have any developed buildings or houses. My first impression of the village was that, of the kids, they were very excited. Like they were very happy. When we pulled up, they were all smiling and waving, and we got out the car, they were all gathering around us. Like they were very happy to see us. And I didn't know most of the kids, but I saw when you and David and Kim saw some of the kids that you knew, you would give them a hug and they knew you too. So it's kind of like a family reunion for me, because I know when I go to family reunions, my parents know more people than I do. So it's like I'm just looking around trying to like figure out who's who, but everybody else is just like, it's like one big family kind of. They're just like kids back in the United States, just living in a different place, because anytime you're with kids, they're all happy, jumpy, they want to play, they want you to like interact and play with them, they talk to you, they're smart, they're like, some of the boys are bad and they run around and do things they know they're not supposed to be doing, but they do it anyways. The older kids were dancing to the music, so it was like any other interaction, just in a different place. The smaller kids were definitely smarter than I thought they would be, because they were very open-minded too. Like when we were working with them, they knew way more than I thought they would, and they were I don't know what's the word. I can't think of the word. They wanted to learn, and they were glad that we were there to help them learn and give them ideas. And some of the kids, like there's 2 little girls, and you could tell they weren't in school, but they were at the schoolyard every single day, and they were always with us. And I gave them coloring books, and I knew they didn't know what to do with them, but they were just so happy when I gave them to them. They were smiling, and I was just so happy to give them to them. It felt great because they were so happy to get them. Like they were looking at them, and some of the kids, you can tell that they were like, what am I supposed to do with this? But once they realized what it was, and the coloring books and the crayons and the activity books, they were really excited to get them, and they were really excited to be able to color and learn and have something for themselves to do. I didn't feel as if when I was giving the kids the stuff, it was more charity, because I felt like it wasn't like they were in need, they just deserved what they got. Like I didn't feel like, none of them were begging for coloring books, none of them were asking for them, but we had them and we gave them to them, and they were very happy for it. It wasn't like I don't know, I didn't feel like I was giving away to, because I feel like when you give away to charity, it's like someone who doesn't have, I don't know, how do I explain it? It's like when you give away to somebody, it's like you're giving it away to someone who like doesn't have what they need, but I feel like they have what they need, they just don't know what they don't have. Does that make sense?
That makes a whole lot of sense.
The older kids were I could tell the older kids were much like older kids back home. They were loud, they were moving around, they were talking with their friends, they were dancing. They were just, most of the older kids, you can tell they were more mature when it came to selling stuff and when it came to business-wise, but when it came to like their personalities, they were much like you, me, and my friends. There was a lot of interesting encounters I had with those kids, but I think one of the most memorable encounters I've had with one of the kids was not encounters, but one of the stories that I heard when we were in one of the workshops, and how there was a girl, well, she's not a girl, she's a woman, she's older than me. She was 22 in the 6th grade, and she came back to get her education because she recently had a kid. And it was just like, you're looking at her and you're like, you're how old? Like we were all in shock when she told us how old she was. But it just goes to show how much they appreciate school, because she was 22 and she had a kid and she still had the courage to come back to school and get her education so she can further her life. Other things that I saw, I remember when we were working with I don't remember what grade we were in, but we were playing Simon Says with the little kids, and I was giving out money for a prize who won. And we got down to like the last two boys, and we gave them 2 tries, so they both kept losing, but we kept like trying to give them tries to win. And then finally one of the boys messed up, and he was so angry when I didn't give him the money. Like, he was telling me that he was supposed to win and that this wasn't right and that we had to do it over, and I felt so bad, but I didn't have any more money to give him. And he was so mad, and I just felt so bad for him, but it was like, it's a game, but I don't know, it was just one of the crazy encounters. Oh yeah, there was and they looked like, it was like a friend, they were a friend group, I guess, and they were sitting on the windows of the school. And one of them knew my name, because I guess one of them were in the classrooms that day, and she called me over. So I went over there, and they were like, she asked me, she was like, she asked me how old I was, and I told her, and then she told me that we were all the same age. And then she asked me if I had any brothers and sisters, and I told her that I had 2 older sisters and a little brother. And then she asked me how old they were, and I told her. And then I was sitting there, and they were talking in their native language, and I was just looking around like, okay, so do I just stand here and smile, because I don't know if they're talking about me or what they're saying about me? Well, the empowerment class didn't go as we planned for it to go because of the bus rides and getting people to come over. So it really started off with me telling my story, Heather telling her story, and then Angela telling her story. And it turned when one of the girls was basically, after Angela told her story, one of the girls, she didn't say it in a rude way, but she basically said that Angela's story had nothing on the stories that some of the girls had inside the classroom. So then Angela was like, well, then why don't you guys tell your story? So then we started hearing the stories about the girls who, I remember one of the girls, her parents, she had moved to the village with her aunt because she wanted to go get her education. And then she later found out that her parents weren't together anymore and that they were divorced and that they weren't living, and she was finding that out, but she wasn't with them, and she started crying because she didn't know anything else but both her parents, so she was sad that they were both splitting up. And then there was 2 stories where they were talking about them leaving their parents and that their parents later split up. And then we got into the stories that it was the 2 girls who had the babies. They told both their stories and how they overcame their obstacles and still were able to come back to school and get their education. And then that's when the girls from Shushi came, and they talked to the girls about everything. But you could tell that some of the girls are going through the same problems that some girls back home are going through. And I mean, even with parents splitting, I mean, I know how that is when my parents are together, and I know how it feels sometimes, but it's like she can't see her parents, so it's different but same. It definitely felt like I didn't have like some of the kids, there was no difference in my name from the other kids, like, because everybody else well, not everybody had an African name, but it was like, oh, so you actually know. It's like, when I said my name, I feel like they were expecting something different. When I said it, they were looking at me like, oh, you actually have an African name, like you actually know about this, and you actually look into, like, they realized that I had knowledge about my name and my background, and that I knew where it came from. And it felt like, I don't know, I just felt like more connected to them, that I had a name just like theirs, instead of having a regular American name.
Was that important? You think, is that important to be able to have that connection?
Yes, because it makes me less different. It makes me feel like I'm like I'm not different from them. Like, I'm still, even though since my name is African, it's just like yours, so me and you could be just alike, even though we live in 2 different places, where we can all be like the same person, we can all do the same things. For me to be able to come into Africa is a very mind-opening situation, and seeing the kids in the village and how much they appreciate school definitely makes me want to go home and do better And because if they can do it, they can go to school every day and they have to pay for school and I get it for free, like why should I be slacking in school when I have all this privilege and they're not slacking and they have to go and they have to pay for it and they have to walk, 2 miles or a distance to come to school, and they still come every day and they still have high grades, and I can take the bus to school and I don't have to pay for anything. And I'm not, like, for me not to do well is kind of like, I feel like not so much selfish, but it's like, why are you taking this for granted? And I feel like most people when they come to Africa, they're like, oh, when you get back, you appreciate the things you have more, and like everything you have, like, oh, like when people say, like, when you're eating, like, oh, you're gonna throw that food out, kids in Africa are starving. But it's like, I don't leave Africa with that mindset, because I know that when I go back home, I can't do anything about the way I live. I can just only appreciate it more. And I know, like, now when I go home and if I can't go get something, I'm not gonna be upset and mad about not getting something, because I know there are people who don't have it. But at the same time, if I do get it, I'm not gonna feel guilty, because that's always how my life has been. It means a lot, and it was definitely a great bonding time for me and my dad. And plus I got to see a lot that I would never in a million years, like a couple of years back, I never thought I'd be here right now. And I still, thinking about it, we're leaving tomorrow, and I feel like we just came here yesterday. Like, I still can't believe I'm in Africa. Like, sometimes I'll be walking down the street and I'll be like, I'm really in Africa right now. Like, and I forget, and then I'll think about it, I'm like, I'm really in Africa. Like, I'm really walking down the streets. And like, some kids when I tell them I'm here, they're like, you're where? You're in Africa? Why are you in Africa? Like, some kids are scared for me, and some are like, this is a great opportunity for you, and this is a great experience for you. And I think this is like a wonderful experience for me, definitely going back home and going to school and being able to tell people about my trip, and hopefully bringing some people with me on this trip to let them experience the same experience I've been through. I mean, I know a lot about your work. I've gone on many conferences and I've heard many calls, so I know what you do impacts a lot of people. And even though I wasn't in the workshop you guys did with the boys, I know that they have somebody they can talk to or they can call whenever they need advice, and I know that they feel comfortable talking to you. Everything that I knew got clarified when I came over here, so there's only more for me to know, but I don't know about it until I go out and see it. So for me, only to learn more, I'd have to go out and see more. So going to different countries in Africa and seeing how they're different from here, but there's nothing that I didn't know that wasn't clarified for me when I came. If I had to do a presentation to my friends, I would probably start off by asking them their thoughts about Africa, and then I would start from there. Like, I would ask them, so when you think of Africa, what comes to your mind? What comes to your mind when you think of Africa? And I would write down like a list of what comes to people's minds about what they think of Africa, and then I would go back and tell them what actually is and what isn't. So just to like open their mind and let them see before I tell them what I know and tell them what actually is, I want to know what they know, just to kind of stop the controversy and all that.
I've watched her perspective change with respect to who she is as a young girl in this world. I've watched her appreciation grow for what she's seen. I've watched her connectedness begin to make sense to her with respect to the privileges that she has in America and what she's seen these young girls in Ghana and how they experience the things that they have to deal with here in this country. I'm not exactly sure, how this is going to manifest itself when she gets home, but I'm clear that to some respect I have a new little girl.
Yeah, I would love to come here every year during the summertime and be able to come. I mean, yes, I do wish I could have stayed in the village longer. I feel like once I got comfortable there, it's like we were leaving. So I definitely wish that we could stay in the village longer. But this is something I definitely want to do every year and even bring people with me to see Africa.
We hope you enjoyed this week's To the Contrary Film Festival winner. And as always, whether you agree or think to the contrary, please join us next week.